Unexplainable orbs hovering in a mysterious part of the Australian desert known as Australia's Skinwalker Ranch, captured on video. Take a look at this. An orb, a solid white spherical object appearing to move slowly through the frame. It was a scientist camping in the desert who caught the incredible footage on an infrared digital camera while scanning the sky. And that wasn't all he captured. I do want to bring in News Nation special correspondent Ross Coulthart, who interviewed this scientist who captured the footage. Ross, thanks for joining us. It's always good to see you.
Good evening, Natasha. Nice to see you too.
And Ross, people have observed orbs specifically in this region dating back hundreds of years. You interviewed the scientist who recorded the videos. What did he think these objects were?
So Dr. Andrew Morgan's a scientist who's been collaborating with another scientist from the US to try and investigate a phenomenon that's been seen in the Australian outback for, as you say, hundreds of years. The Aboriginal people called them Min Min lights, and when the first European settlers arrived in Australia, they were really struck by these weird glowing orbs of light that are frequently seen hovering over what we call the outback, which are the big wide open spaces of mainly desert in the Australian interior. And so one of the things that a lot of the debunkers have been saying in response to this vision is that this is just backlit insects moving through a light that's illuminating the scene, and that they're out of focus insects. One of the things that Dr. Morgan was able to do was actually film insects in exactly the same scenario with the same camera and the same focus settings, and he was clearly able to delineate the insects and birds from whatever these objects are. So whatever they are, they're anomalous. They appear to be intelligently moving through the landscape. They seem to be curious. And the Aboriginal people have talked about these objects for thousands of years. They call them spirits, spirit people. And essentially they are very, very similar. Dr. Morgan and his colleague have published a paper which explores this idea. They're very, very similar to lights that have been recorded across the United States at various Air Force bases where there've been anomalous orbs basically going into buildings, and particularly other areas where there are nuclear weapons. And it's not a coincidence, I think, that this area of the Karijini Desert is very close to a major Australian base that's part of the US national deterrence. It's where communications are made with US nuclear attack submarines in the Indian Ocean. It's called the Harold E. Holt Naval Communications Station. So maybe, just maybe, this phenomenon is drawn to areas of national security interest. We just don't know. But Dr. Morgan and his colleague are doing much more rigorous investigations to try and get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Dr. Morgan wrote a research paper on these orbs, and it wasn't accepted by the scientific community. Is that right?
There's a lot of dogmatic resistance in conventional science to the whole idea of anomalous phenomena, as you know, Natasha. There's a real resistance to even beginning the study. And it's full credit to Dr. Morgan that he's got the gumption and, frankly, the courage to come out and actually acknowledge that he's been filming these objects. He's been doing this in secret for quite some time. One of the biggest things we get from debunkers is they often say, oh, why do these incidents only ever happen over the United States and mainly over crowded cities or military bases? And frankly, they don't. They are happening all over the world. And we're not saying they're alien. We're not saying they're necessarily anomalous. But what we are saying is that they should be investigated. And that's what Dr. Morgan and his colleague are doing. And they're not jumping to conclusions. They're taking very careful scientific measurements. They want to go back with new gear. They do detect changes in the environment that are consistent with anomalous phenomena, electromagnetic phenomena changes, changes in radiation. There's something going on, and they're trying to find out what it is.
It's very interesting, and I know you'll keep us posted. With the time we have, I do want to pivot away from UFOs quickly and focus on a man who is obsessed with space, Elon Musk. Of course, he's playing such a significant role in the U.S. government right now alongside Trump. You interviewed Musk in 2015 about SpaceX and Mars. What did you learn about Elon? What do you think people need to know about him?
I have to say, I was really impressed with Elon Musk. I went along thinking he was going to be another chief executive of an organization who didn't know anything about his supply line. But he showed us through the SpaceX facility personally, and he knew every single engineer. He knew every single person on every part of the line. And I'll wager he knew more about the particular science involved or the technology involved in building that part of whatever it was, be it a space rocket or a Tesla, than the person operating the system. He was very impressive, mind like a steel trap. I had the feeling that about 95% of his brain was working on some other problem while he did his main interview with me on the remaining 5%.
Thanks for watching.